I never thought a janitor job could scare me for life. Back then, I was desperate for work. I had just moved to a new city, rent was overdue, and I didn't have the luxury to ask questions. When I saw the listing for a night shift janitor at a private office building, I took it without hesitation. The building was located on the edge of the business district. During the day, it probably looked normal. At night, it felt abandoned. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. No coworkers, no supervisors, just me, my cleaning cart, and 8 dark floors of offices that were completely empty after sunset. The manager told me something that stuck with me from day one. "Most floors are unlocked," he said casually. "But if you see a door marked restricted, don't open it. You won't need to." He didn't explain why. On my first night, everything felt normal. Too normal. The building was silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the squeak of my cart wheels. Every sound echoed, like the walls were listening. I worked slowly, sweeping, mopping, emptying trash bins. Floor by floor, hour by hour. By midnight, I started noticing something strange. Some trash bins were already full. At first, I assumed cleaners from the day shift forgot to empty them. But then I noticed something worse. The trash wasn't old. Coffee cups were still warm. Paper towels were damp. One desk even had crumbs on it, like someone had just eaten there. But the security log said no one had entered the building after 8 p.m. I tried to ignore it. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard footsteps. They came from the floor above me. At first, they were slow, heavy, deliberate. Not the quick steps of someone running late. More like someone pacing. I froze, mop still in my hands. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding small in the empty hallway. No response. The footsteps stopped. After a long pause, I told myself it was just the building settling. Old pipes, old floors. That's what people always say. I finished my floor faster than usual and headed upstairs. That's when I saw the door. It was marked restricted, just like the manager warned. The sign was old and scratched. The lock looked newer than everything else. And the door was slightly open. I stood there staring at the dark gap between the door and the frame. A cold smell came from inside. Not like mold or dust. It smelled metallic, almost like blood. I remembered the warning, so I walked away. But as I reached the end of the hallway, I heard a voice. Soft, weak, coming from behind the door. "Help, please." My heart started pounding. I turned around slowly, staring at the door again. The voice sounded real, too real to ignore. I told myself someone might be hurt, maybe trapped. Against my better judgment, I stepped closer. "Hello," I whispered. The voice replied instantly. "He's coming back, please." My hand shook as I pushed the door open. Inside was a small office. No windows, just one flickering light. And in the center of the room was a chair. Strapped to it were dirty restraints. Old stains covered the floor. Deep scratches ran along the walls, like someone had tried to claw their way out. There was no one there. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. The lights went out. I spun around, heart racing, banging on the door. That's when I heard breathing. Right behind me. Slow, heavy, calm. I felt warm air brush against my neck. A voice whispered, close enough that I felt it in my ear. "You weren't supposed to open that." The lights flickered back on. The room was empty again. The restraints were gone. The scratches were gone. It looked like a normal office. I ran. I didn't clean the rest of the building. I didn't grab my things. I ran straight outside and didn't stop until I reached my car. I quit the next morning without explanation. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I searched the building online. I found one old article. Years ago, a night janitor disappeared during his shift. The case was never solved. The last place he was seen? A restricted office on the 3rd floor. I still think about that voice sometimes. And what scares me most is this. When I quit, the manager didn't ask why. He just said, "You opened the door, didn't you?" And then he smiled. I worked as a janitor at a public high school for almost 3 years, and most of that time was boring. Sweeping hallways, cleaning bathrooms, scrubbing graffiti off desks. Nothing scary ever happened until I volunteered for the night shift. The pay was better and I didn't mind being alone. The school was empty after 9 p.m. and my job was simple. Lock up classrooms, clean common areas, and make sure the building was ready for the next day. There was only one rule my supervisor made very clear. Don't go into the basement after midnight. He said it casually, like it wasn't important, but something about his tone told me otherwise. The basement wasn't on my task list anyway. It was mostly storage, old desks, broken lockers, boxes of outdated textbooks. I didn't question it. First, on my first few night shifts, everything felt normal. The school was quiet, but not in a creepy way. Just empty. The hum of vending machines, the distant ticking of wall clocks, my footsteps echoing down long hallways lined with lockers. But after a week, strange things started happening. Every morning I'd get complaints. A classroom trash bin would be overturned. Chairs would be stacked in odd patterns. Once, a chalkboard had writing on it, just one sentence. Stop cleaning at night. The security cameras showed nothing. No break-ins. No movement. They blamed students. Pranks. Typical excuse. Then one night, around 11:45 p.m., I heard something coming from below the school. A sound I'd never heard before. It was faint, but unmistakable. Dragging, like something heavy being pulled across concrete. I stood still in the hallway, holding my broom, listening. The sound came again. Slow, rough, deliberate. It was coming from the basement. I remembered the warning. Don't go down there after midnight. I checked my watch. 11:47 p.m. I told myself it was just pipes. Or maybe the old boiler system. Schools make weird noises at night. Still, the sound didn't stop. It started turning into something worse. Scratching. Long nails scraping against metal. At exactly 12:01 a.m., the lights in the hallway flickered, then went out. My flashlight was the only thing keeping me from total darkness. And that's when the sound changed. Footsteps, coming up the basement stairs. Slow, uneven, like whoever or whatever it was wasn't used to walking properly. I backed away, my heart pounding. The basement door was at the end of the hallway, barely visible in the beam of my flashlight. The footsteps stopped. The door handle slowly turned, but the door didn't open. Instead, something spoke from the other side. Not loud, not angry, just tired. You weren't supposed to be here. My throat went dry. I'm just cleaning, I said, not even sure why I answered. There was a long pause. Then the voice replied, "So was I." The handle started shaking violently. I ran. I didn't look back. I sprinted down the hallway, my footsteps echoing through the dark school. I hid inside a classroom, locked the door, and turned off my flashlight. I sat there shaking until sunrise. When the morning staff arrived, I told the principal everything. He didn't look surprised. He sighed, rubbed his face, and finally told me the truth. Years ago, a janitor named Mr. Holloway worked the night shift. One night, he went down to the basement after hours. No one knows why. They found him days later, or what was left of him, crushed beneath a collapsed storage shelf. The school quietly sealed part of the basement afterward. No investigation, no memorial. Since then, janitors kept quitting. Night staff never lasted long. I quit that same day. But here's the part that still keeps me awake. Last year, I ran into a former teacher from that school. During our conversation, I mentioned the basement. She went pale. "That's impossible," she said. "Why?" I asked. "The basement was permanently locked," she replied. "No one has been allowed down there for over 10 years. So whatever spoke to me that night was never supposed to be alive." I took a janitor job at a small county hospital when I was in my early 20s. It wasn't the kind of place you see on TV. No shiny floors, no busy emergency rooms, just a quiet, half-empty building that mostly handled long-term patients and overnight observation cases. The shift I worked was called Final Cleanup. From 1 a.m. to 7 a.m., after visiting hours were long over. The supervisor explained it to me on my first night. "If a room has a red tag on the door," he said, "skip it, no matter what you hear." He didn't smile when he said it. At first, I assumed red tags meant biohazards or something medical. I didn't ask questions. I needed the job. The hospital at night felt wrong. The lights were dimmed. The hallways felt longer than they should have been. Every sound, every cough, every creak echoed like it was right behind you. Around 2:30 a.m., I noticed my first red tag door. It was at the end of a hallway that wasn't on my cleaning route. The door was shut, but the red tag hung crooked, like someone had brushed past it recently. As I rolled my cart by, I heard something. Breathing. Slow. Shallow. Painful. I stopped. A weak knocking came from inside the room. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps again. I remembered the rule. Skip it. No matter what you hear. I walked away, but the knocking followed me. Not physically, but in sound. I could hear it echoing from different hallways, like it was moving through the walls. By 3:15 a.m., every red tag door I passed had the same sound behind it. Breathing, knocking, whispering. I caught fragments of words. "Help me. I'm still here. They said I was done." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely push my cart. I decided to take my break early and headed toward the staff lounge. As I passed the nurse's station, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The patient board. Every room with a red tag had a name on it, but under status, each one said the same thing. Deceased. All of them. The timestamps showed they died weeks ago. That's when I heard my name, clear as day. Coming from behind me, I turned slowly. At the end of the hallway stood a man in a hospital gown. His body was thin, too thin. His skin looked gray, almost transparent. And around his wrist was a red tag. "I just need one more cleanup," he said softly. Then they said I could leave. The lights flickered. More figures appeared behind him. Men, women, all wearing gowns. all with red tags, all watching me silently. I ran. I don't remember how I made it outside, only that I didn't stop running until I was in my car with the doors locked. The next day, I quit. Before I left, I asked my supervisor one last question. What does final cleanup really mean? He didn't look at me when he answered. It's for the rooms where families never came, he said, where no one said goodbye. I still dream about that hospital, and sometimes late at night I wake up to a sound I recognize. 3 slow knocks. Pause. 3 more, like someone waiting for me to come finish the job.